You wake up and dive straight into stress, losing your edge before the day begins. You skip the one thing that sets the tone, intention. Start your morning with clarity to take back control. Sharpen your focus and fuel your drive before the world has a chance to distract you. In a few moments, I will teach you how one simple morning habit can sharpen your focus, fuel motivation, and shift your day before it even begins. 1. Wake up with a purpose. Each morning, you arrive in the world once more. 2 hands, a mind sharpened by experience, a breath steady and ready to serve you. That is all you need. That is all anyone has ever needed. These simple, profound tools have raised civilizations, carved new paths through history, and redefined what is possible. But most days, you forget. You wake not with urgency, but with drift, as though the day belongs to something else. You leave your bed like a sleepwalker, leaving a dream, barely noticing the potential still wrapped around your spine. What if you didn't? What if today you treated the sunrise not as background, but as your signal to begin? Each morning is not routine, it is revelation. A fresh start that does not ask who you were yesterday, but dares you to decide who you will be now. Every morning arrives as a quiet offer. Will you build or will you wait? The day does not ask you for brilliance, it asks you for presence, for your full attention, for the honesty of effort. You are not called to be perfect. You are called to show up, awake in the deepest sense of the word, that begins by asking better questions. Not what do I have to do today, but what am I here to contribute? Not what can I get from the world, but what will I give to it? Think of your life as something being shaped constantly, not just by great decisions or rare moments, but by the simple rhythm of your intent. What you think, what you say, how you move through your space, these are your instruments of creation. You are always building, even in silence. The only question is whether you're building what you believe in or merely what happens to rise around you. Take the quiet hours seriously. Before the bustle, before others stake their claims on your energy, there is a space that belongs only to you. Use it. Sit with your breath. Feel the weight and promise of your own questions. Where am I going? What am I building? Who am I becoming? These are not questions to be rushed. They are doorways. Picture yourself at the helm of a vessel, the captain, not the passenger. The seas may be unpredictable, but the hand on the wheel is yours. You can navigate. You can steer. Life is not something that merely happens to you. It is something that answers to how you move through it. But you must move with purpose. Drift is a choice. So is direction. And what if you brought fire back into your rising? Not exhaustion, not the long sigh of another day, but the deep inhale of a soul that remembers, I am here to do something. When was the last time you woke with your heart already halfway to your purpose? That is not a luxury, it is a discipline. So let today begin not with waiting, not with wandering, but with decision. Remember that greatness does not need grand beginnings, it needs consistent ones. You are not here to ask for permission. You are here to shape the hours you're given, and in doing so, shape yourself. This morning, begin. 2. Command your mind before the world does. From the moment a person can crawl, the world begins its pull, a tug for attention, a silent scramble for the mind. It begins subtly, through noises and needs, through voices and glances, and over time it becomes relentless. But those who shape legacies, those who build lives of meaning and clarity, do not surrender their minds at sunrise. They do not hand over the keys to their thoughts before they have turned them themselves. Each morning the mind is unmarked, fertile and waiting. It will grow whatever is planted first. Some scatter seeds of chaos, fears that are not theirs, gossip that feeds nothing, headlines that do not feed the soul. They accept these things passively, like passengers in a carriage whose reins are held by strangers, and then they wonder why the day veers where it does. But that carriage is yours, and the reins belong in your hands. What sense does it make to begin the day shaped by someone else's fears, distractions, or doubts? What clarity can be expected when the first voice heard is not your own? Take back that first moment. Sit in stillness. Let your breath remind you that you're here, and that this day is yours. Speak into the silence, not because the world demands it, but because your direction depends on it. Say what you know to be true about your power, your purpose, and your place. Let those words be louder than anything that comes after. Imagine facing no one until you've already faced yourself. Imagine not hearing another's tone until your own has shaped the day. That is not arrogance. That is authorship. When a person takes ownership of their morning, they are not just preparing for the world, they are shaping how the world responds. Think of it like this. Before the sun crests the horizon, you have already set the tone. You rise, not in reaction, but in resolve. You walk through your space with intent, and others can feel it. They see it. The doors you once waited for begin to open, not because the world suddenly decided to be generous, but because you finally moved through it like someone who belongs. There is a quiet authority in those who decide early, not just early in the day, but early in thought. They are not rushed. They are not easily shaken. They don't stumble through the noise hoping for direction. They begin already knowing where they stand. Ask yourself this. When you wake, who runs your thoughts? Who sets your pace? Is it you or the chaos of everything outside your control? That single question can reshape everything. Because if the answer is anything but you, the next step is simple. Take it back. Do not rise like someone waiting to be told what to do. Rise like someone who already knows. The world does not stop speaking, but it learns in time to respond to someone whose mind is not easily swayed. Command your morning, and you will command far more than just the hours ahead. You will command your life, and it all begins in the quiet, with breath, with clarity, and with decision. That is where direction lives. That is where strength begins. Each morning is not a test, it is an opportunity, a blank canvas on which you choose the first stroke. Make it count. Let the world follow you, not the other way around. 3. Practice gratitude like a ritual. Each day begins with an unconscious hunger, a reach for more success, more joy, more recognition. It is a hunger that moves swiftly, silently, urging people forward before they've even opened their eyes. There is nothing wrong with ambition, but ambition without gratitude becomes a chase with no finish line, and too often lives are built on that chase. The pursuit of what's next blinds a person to what already fills their hands. It is a quiet tragedy to hold beauty, love, strength, and still feel empty. To own breath and movement, choice and connection, and still ache for more without recognizing what is already yours. The person who does not pause to notice their present fortune will live in constant pursuit of something just out of reach, and in doing so, they drop what they already possess. This is why the morning matters. Not simply as a new beginning, but as a checkpoint, a moment to pause and take inventory, not of wealth, but of richness, the richness of breath that rises and falls without effort, the freedom to make decisions, the people who say your name with warmth, the strength to shape a different outcome today than yesterday. Gratitude is not about settling. It is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about foundation. When you begin your day rooted in thanks, you shift your perspective. You are no longer moving through life trying to fill an imagined void. You are building from abundance. A soul that feels full doesn't grasp at the world. It gives to it. It creates. It uplifts. It contributes. The impact of this shift is subtle at first, but powerful. A grateful person walks differently. They notice the light in others. They smile more genuinely. Their energy invites rather than demands, and opportunity often moves towards such people, not because they shout the loudest, but because they exude something rare, contentment without complacency. Imagine waking tomorrow, and before lifting your head, you speak thanks for the blanket wrapped around you, for the body that carried you through yesterday, for the thoughts that stir in your mind, ready to be shaped into action. These small acknowledgments don't change the external world. The traffic will still be there, the challenges won't vanish, but you will have changed. You will meet those moments not as a person drained, but as one already full. That fullness becomes your shield. The petty annoyances slide away more easily. The sharp words of others lose their sting because you know what you hold. You are no longer measuring your day by what it lacks, but by what it offers. Ask yourself honestly, what have you missed today because you forgot to notice what you already have? How many moments of peace, connection, or clarity have slipped past dismissed as ordinary. Gratitude trains the eye to see again, to witness the miracle in the mundane, to turn repetition into reverence. When you make gratitude your first act, the rest of the day follows suit, not because the world bends to your will, but because your will has already chosen how to move through the world. You stop chasing every spark of validation and begin generating your own light. So let your mornings begin not in longing, but in thanks. Count what you hold. Feel its weight. Let it steady you. Let it shape the lens through which you see the hours ahead. The world may remain unchanged, but you won't. And that, more than anything, is what changes everything. 4. Define a single clear win for the day. Each day arrives like a wide-open field, yet many sprint into it without direction, chasing pieces of everything and catching almost nothing. There is a hidden cost in that kind of aimless ambition. It is the curse of scattered effort. A dozen intentions pulling in a dozen directions. A sense of exhaustion without fulfillment, movement without meaning. But clarity changes everything. When a person defines a single, meaningful target, the fog of indecision begins to lift. The day sharpens, the noise quiets. What was once a messy sprawl of tasks becomes something far more focused, a mission. That singular focus doesn't limit, it liberates. Because once the question is asked, what is one thing I can do today that moves me closer to the life I desire? The answer becomes a guiding thread through the chaos. Just one thing, one action, one decision, one moment of progress. It sounds small. It may even feel too small at first. But the power lies in consistency. One clear victory each day, no matter how simple or challenging, is how transformation is built. The page written, the challenge faced instead of avoided. These moments, seemingly minor on their own, stacked like bricks. And when done with intention, they form the foundation of something real. Now, picture a stretch of 90 days, not filled with endless busyness, but anchored in 90 wins. Not vague goals scribbled on a list, but completed actions chosen with care. It doesn't take long to realize how quickly momentum builds. The dust of procrastination clears, a path emerges, and with each step, belief deepens. Still, many rise and wander through their hours, hoping something meaningful will happen by accident. They drift from one distraction to the next, filling time without truly inhabiting it. And then they wonder why purpose feels distant, why progress seems stalled, why fulfillment slips through their fingers. The truth is not cruel, only clear. You cannot move forward if you do not know what forward looks like. That is why intention must begin the day. Before the rush, before others stake a claim on your time, ask yourself with seriousness and honesty, what is the one win that matters today? What action, if completed, would make the day feel like progress? That is not a small question. It is the difference between a day lived on purpose and one lost to accident. Without that clarity, the day will be shaped by everything but you. The hours will bend toward urgency instead of importance. You will react instead of create. You will finish tired but unfinished. And slowly, without realizing, your life becomes a blur of unchecked boxes and unmet potential. But when you begin with a defined aim, you walk into the day with ownership. You stop waiting for direction because you already gave it to yourself. You move differently. You lead your time rather than follow it. So ask yourself again, before the minutes begin to scatter, what is your one win today? And if you cannot answer, pause until you can. Because direction must come before momentum. A single clear action is worth more than a dozen forgotten intentions. Your life is not measured by the noise you respond to, but by the steps you take deliberately. Begin today with that one step. Name it, claim it, and let the day follow your lead. 5. Speak aloud the person you are becoming. You are not meant to be yesterday's version of yourself. The world moves forward, and so must you. Yet many wake and walk through their day carrying the weight of an outdated self. Old doubts, old habits, old stories. They step into the morning already defined by the past, without realizing that each new sunrise is not a continuation, but a choice to evolve, to shape, to declare who they are becoming. Every morning is a mirror, but most people glance at it without really looking. They check their reflection, but not their identity. They forget that what they say to themselves matters more than what the world says to them. And the words spoken in the quiet are the ones that echo the loudest. This is where transformation begins, not in grand actions, but in subtle declarations. There is great power in speaking who you are becoming, not as a hope, not as a fantasy, but as a decision. To stand before the day and say, I am focused, I am disciplined, I am building a life of purpose, is not to lie to yourself, it is to lay the first stone. Every architect begins with a vision, long before the foundation is poured. They speak the structure before the walls rise. Why then would you expect your life to take shape in silence? Why would you expect character to emerge without voice? This practice is not about pretending. It is about deciding. Each statement you speak with intent becomes a thread in the fabric of who you are. Identity is not found. It is forged. And that forging happens when your words and your actions begin to align. When you stop asking who you are and start telling yourself. Now, imagine beginning the day not in hesitation, but in certainty. You don't wander into your hours waiting to be shaped by them. You arrive already formed in intention, already grounded in identity. And when that happens, something subtle but powerful shifts. People begin to respond differently. They sense it. You speak with clarity. You move with direction. And more importantly, you begin to treat yourself with the respect that identity deserves. Because once you decide who you are becoming, the decisions get easier. You don't have to wrestle with every distraction, every temptation, every doubt. You simply ask, does this belong to the version of me I am building? If it does, you act. If it doesn't, you let it pass. That is the strength of self-declaration. It gives you a filter, a compass, a voice that leads. But this only works if belief is behind the words. Saying them is one thing, owning them is another. So ask yourself, honestly, what did you tell yourself this morning? Was it born from truth or fear? Did it lift you or did it shrink you? And more importantly, did you say it with conviction? Today, speak the version of you that you are committed to becoming. Say it aloud. Say it clearly, not for others, but for yourself. Let the sound of your own certainty be the first thing you hear before the world tries to define you. You are always building. Every thought, every word, every action is a brick. The question is, what are you building toward? Speak your future self into the present. Let your voice lay the foundation. And then step into the day as if it's already true. Because the world doesn't just respond to what you do, it responds to who you believe you are. Start there, speak there, and everything else begins to follow. 6, move your body with intention. You are not just thought and consciousness drifting through space. You are a full engine of motion, meaning and momentum, a living force designed not only to think and feel, but to move, to engage, to command space. Yet, most mornings, people rise like machines, half assembled, eyes open, but body stalled. The mind might spark to life, but the vessel that carries it remains idle. It's no wonder the day feels distant, or the purpose unclear. The system hasn't been activated. But movement changes everything. Not movement for appearance or punishment or trend, but for awakening, for alignment, a stretch that lengthens not just the body, but the intention. A breath that doesn't merely fill the lungs, but centers the spirit. A step taken not just to get somewhere, but to declare readiness. This is not routine, this is ritual. A moment to greet the day, not from the sidelines, but from within it. There is immense power in those first acts of motion. They speak to every layer of the self. When you move with purpose, you send a message to your mind. We are not drifting today. We are here, we are active, we are engaged. That morning walk, that first bend of the spine, that breath drawn deep into the core, these are signals. They say, I am prepared to meet the demands of this life. Why wait for the world to jolt you awake with stress or urgency when you can meet it already moving? Why let the pressure of deadlines or challenges be your first source of energy when your own will can ignite the fire? The body, when led by purpose, doesn't just carry you. It becomes your anchor, your proof that you are showing up, not sleepwalking through another set of hours. The moment you rise and take physical command of your space, everything shifts. The fog in your mind begins to clear. The doubts soften, the distractions weaken, because now your actions are in sync with your intention. You are no longer divided, a mind hoping for change and a body sitting still. You are united in forward motion. Picture this. You step out before the world stirs, shoulders back, chest open, feet moving through the quiet. The sun not yet over the horizon, others still lost in sleep or delay. But you, already awake, already claiming the day. That kind of head start is not about competition. It is about ownership. It is not about being better than others. It is about being fully available to yourself. And if the day asks more of you, if your dreams stretch tall and wide, if your responsibilities weigh heavy, then all the more reason to prepare the vessel. For how can you carry the full load of your vision if the frame built to hold it is weak? Strength is not vanity. It is preparation. It is respect for the life you want to live. So move, not just to burn energy, but to build it. Not just to loosen limbs, but to awaken direction. In motion, your spirit finds its rhythm. Your mind locks into its path, and your will becomes sharp enough to cut through the noise of the day. Let this be your call to rise differently, not slow and reluctant, but bold and active. Show the world, and more importantly, yourself, that you are ready, not by what you say, but by how you step into the morning. Move your body, and your soul will not linger far behind. Begin the day in motion, and the rest of it will know who is leading. 7. Feed your mind with power, not poison. You would never plant weeds in a garden you hope to flourish. You would not pour oil into the soil or scatter salt across the roots. And yet each morning, many rise and begin their day by feeding their minds with thoughts that stunt growth, not encourage it. They open their eyes and allow doubt to seep in. Fear creeps quietly, cloaked as realism. Mediocrity whispers like an old friend, reminding them to stay small. This is not intentional, but it is habitual. And what becomes habit becomes identity. The mind is soil, rich with possibility. But like any soil, it bears only what is planted, weeds or fruit. It does not discriminate. It simply nurtures what it is given. So consider, what are you giving your mind at the start of your day? What seeds do you allow to take root while the world is still quiet and your heart still open? What you consume, you become. The voices you hear, the stories you repeat to yourself, the words you accept as truth, they either build your foundation or begin your collapse. It is not a question of if you are being influenced, but by what. Every idea you allow in is either helping you rise or pulling you under. To build something great, a life, a vision, a legacy, you must be deliberate about the materials. You wouldn't construct a house from debris. Why build your future on mental garbage? Why begin a sacred day by consuming noise that distracts, divides, or deflates? What you take in shapes what you put out. If the first voice you hear is one of power and clarity, your actions echo that. If it is one of fear and scarcity, your steps will hesitate. Start each day feeding your mind with strength. This is not about routine, it is about resilience. Give yourself a paragraph from a book that lifts you. Not to impress others, but to impress something deeper into yourself. Let the ideas of thinkers, doers, and builders flow through your thoughts before the day claims them. Just one line can light the fuse. One phrase can become a shield against the noise. One idea can frame your thinking, sharpen your decisions, redirect your energy. You wouldn't skip breakfast and expect your body to carry you through battle. Why starve your mind and expect it to lead you through a demanding world? The brain, the soul, the self, they crave nourishment just as much as muscle and bone. Not physical fuel, but intellectual fire, emotional clarity, spiritual depth. Imagine opening a page and reading a single sentence that reshapes the way you approach your work, or hearing a voice, strong, certain, unshaken, that calls you forward instead of holding you back. That one insight becomes your compass for the day. That one reminder returns to you in a moment of doubt and steadies your steps. This is not fluff. This is fuel. You are not here to drift. You are here to drive. But even the most powerful vehicle goes nowhere without ignition. Morning input is your ignition. What you allow in during those first moments sets the tone, sets the pace, sets the posture of your inner world. So take the time, sit with your thoughts before the world floods them. Choose your influences with care. Choose words that remind you who you are when everything else tries to make you forget. Make your morning mind meal one of power, not poison. Feed your thoughts the same way you would feed a dream, with intention, with precision, and with deep respect. Ask yourself honestly, what did I feed my mind this morning? Was it worthy of the person I want to become? Did it challenge me, encourage me, center me, or did it dull my edges before I even began? Every thought is a choice, every word a brick or a burden. Feed your mind with the kind of thoughts that lift you, and watch what you build. Soon the landscape of your life will begin to reflect the discipline of your mornings, and in that reflection you will see the person you've always had the power to become. 8. Review your definite chief aim. You cannot build a house without a blueprint. Yet so many live their days as though the structure of their life will assemble itself. They move from task to task, from demand to demand, as if movement alone will lead to meaning. But motion without direction is the root of exhaustion. A day without aim becomes a day borrowed by others. Time loses its weight when it is not anchored to something larger. Every morning is a beginning, and with each beginning comes an opportunity to remember, not to wonder, not to guess, but to recall with clarity what the purpose of your life truly is, to revisit that one truth that shapes all others. Because when your purpose is at the forefront of your mind, the clutter begins to fall away. You stop asking small questions. You stop engaging in things that pull you sideways. The distractions don't disappear, but they lose their power. Purpose is not just a dream. It is a compass. It directs your words, your actions, your energy. When you rise each day and place your attention first on that central aim, you are not indulging in fantasy. You are laying the foundation of your decisions. And decisions over time are what build a life. Why wake without remembering why you rose? Why go into your day without the anchor that holds you steady when the winds of obligation and urgency begin to blow? This is not about routine. It is about alignment. It is about reclaiming ownership of your hours before the world takes them. Keep your purpose close, not locked away in some journal you never open or buried beneath to-do lists and forgotten goals. Keep it visible, on a card beside your bed, in a line at the top of your morning notes, as a sentence you whisper before your feet hit the floor. Say it aloud, not because speaking it makes it true, but because speaking it makes it present. And what is present shapes how you walk, how you respond, how you build. Close your eyes and see it. Feel what it means. Let it pull something alive from within you. Remind yourself that every effort, every difficult moment, every act of patience or courage or focus today is in service to that aim. You are not drifting, you are building. You are not reacting, you are creating. Imagine two people starting their day. One forgets their aim. They rise with no reference point, no inner direction. They spend their energy responding to messages, to pressure, to noise. They hesitate, not because they lack ability, but because they lack clarity. Doubt fills the space where certainty should live. Now imagine the other. They begin by revisiting their aim. They speak it, they see it, they carry it, and so they move through the day with weight. Their actions have substance. Their voice carries confidence. Their choices, though not always easy, are consistent, not perfect, but aligned. One builds, the other wanders. That is the power of purpose in the morning. It becomes your anthem. It becomes the lens through which you see every obstacle, every opportunity, every hour. It reminds you that your life is not a series of scattered events, but a deliberate composition. And your role is not simply to endure the day, but to shape it in the image of your aim. Ask yourself now, do you remember what you're truly working toward? Has your chief purpose been given a seat at the table of your attention? Or has it been drowned in noise, dulled by distraction, lost beneath the surface of busyness? The answer is not a reason for shame. It is a signal to return. Return to the blueprint. Return to the sentence that stirs you. Return to the image of the life you are committed to building. Let that be the first thing you face each day. before the opinions, before the demands. Let your purpose speak first. Let it speak loudest. You do not need 1,000 motivators. You need one reason, clear and powerful, that echoes through your morning and into your every act. When that reason is present, you will rise differently. You will speak with conviction. You will walk with direction. The world around you may stay the same, but how you meet it will not. So write it down, keep it close, speak it aloud, and let your chief aim become the anthem of your morning. From that place of clarity, everything else will follow. Decisions will become easier, focus will become stronger, and progress will no longer be a question of possibility, but of inevitability. Begin each day not just by waking up, but by awakening to what you are here to do. That is where purpose lives, and that is where a meaningful life begins. 9. Close with a promise to yourself. You begin each day in command. The moment your eyes open, before a single word is spoken, before the outside world has a chance to intrude, you are sovereign over yourself. That first breath, that first thought belongs entirely to you, but the grip you hold in the morning can loosen quickly. The quiet power of those early moments is easily lost, if not claimed. And by the time noon arrives, many have already handed over the reins of their life to something or someone else, to pressure, to opinion, to fear. The shift happens subtly. It begins when you move through your morning without intention, when you rise from bed and go straight into movement without aligning to meaning, when you answer to tasks before answering to purpose. The world is waiting, always, to impose its agenda. But before you enter that arena, before you let expectations from others stake their claim on your time and energy, you owe yourself something first. You owe yourself a promise not made in passing thought, but in full awareness, a vow crafted not from vague hope, but from quiet conviction. One sentence, one commitment, spoken aloud or written down or simply burned into your chest like a brand. Today I will act with purpose. I will not drift. I will not bow to fear. That is not a mantra. That is a contract. And contracts build character. This contract isn't ceremonial. It is foundational. It draws a line in the sand that reminds you of who you are and what you stand for. When the voices come, the ones that whisper you're not enough, that you should take the easy road, that today doesn't matter, you meet them not with confusion but with clarity. You already decided. You already vowed. The promise has already been made. Without that vow, the day belongs to circumstance. With it, the day belongs to choice. Why trust the winds to carry you to meaning when you have legs that can walk you there? Why hope for alignment when you can create it with one decision, one declaration? The person who leaves their morning without a promise is like a soldier who steps into the field without his mission. And in the chaos of challenge and distraction, they forget what they were fighting for in the first place. But you are not that person. You are not here to drift. You are here to decide. Imagine yourself fully awake, grounded, before the day begins to demand things from you. You stand still. You speak your truth. You make a vow, not to impress, but to anchor. And from that moment on, every action holds more weight. Every choice passes through the filter of that promise. This is not about perfection. You will be tested. You will falter. But when the morning begins with a clear vow, you have something to return to, a fixed point, a promise not to the world, but to yourself. And the person who keeps promises to themselves, no matter how small, becomes unshakable. Because integrity isn't about public accountability, it's about private discipline. Let me ask you now, what is the promise your future self is begging you to make today? What would the person you hope to become ask of you right now, before the clock starts ticking, before your attention is pulled in 10 different directions? That version of you isn't far away. They are watching, waiting, hoping you take one step closer. Speak it, write it, engrave it, carry it with you. When doubt creeps in, return to it. When the day gets loud, return to it. When temptation rises, return to it. Your vow is your compass. And though storms will come, though the path may blur, a clear promise will always guide you home. Make this your daily ritual, not for motivation, but for mastery, not because it guarantees ease, but because it guarantees alignment. Purpose is not stumbled into, it is summoned. Each morning offers a window before distraction, before noise, before compromise. Use that window to plant something firm, something rooted, something yours. Because in a world of shifting values and borrowed goals, a person who keeps promises to themselves walks with a kind of peace no one can touch. Their voice carries weight. Their gaze does not wander. Their steps leave a mark. And it all begins in the stillness of the morning with a single promise kept.